What's going on, everyone? My name is Sam Elkins. I just dropped a dope iPhone photography workshop in collaboration with Moment. We covered tons of different things ranging from shooting on mobile phones to editing, finding great light to shoot in, and shooting everything from portraits to landscapes to details. So here's a free preview of the lesson. It's a cut down actually of a portrait section of the workshop where we shoot portraits in beautiful light, actually right here in Santa Barbara, California. So enjoy. What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to a new episode. In this episode, we're going to be chatting about all things portraiture. Portraits for me is a huge part of my work, and actually it's a common misconception, I think, that you can't take a good portrait on a phone. It's much more about the fundamentals when you're taking a portrait, everything from posing to directing your model or subject, and also utilizing the available light. So we're gonna go through a bunch of different scenarios. We're gonna show you guys not only how to direct and pose your subject, but we're also gonna show you guys how to use the available light to your advantage, like we did earlier with the harsh light stuff. And then we're also going to move on as well and show you guys different focal lengths, compare them against each other, and show you guys which ones actually look the best for varying portrait types. Let's have you stand like right there. I'm gonna have a mixture. Right there, I'm gonna have a mixture of the sun and the shade. So what I like to do a lot of times when there's a bit more direct light like this, but we're also in kind of like a foresty environment, so we have a lot of options as far as our available light. But what I actually want to do is make sure that the light is hitting Jacob's face in a way that looks flattering. I think everyone has a flattering angle. It's just really about kind of finding that and making sure that you emphasize that as well. So what we're gonna do first is just kind of take some quick test shots and see how everything is looking, and then from there we can kind of refine our eye and start taking photos that we want to be taking. So it starts with a lot of trial and error. I think when people start taking portraits, they get really scared and unconfident because it's not coming out the way they want to after the first couple shots, but it really is just a bunch of trial and error, trying new things and seeing what happens. First things first, I'm gonna start with portrait mode. I'm gonna start with the tele, so the 2x zoom on here. I think this will look the best because I wanna bring out his eyes in the sun and see how that looks. So I really like this side of you. Turn that way just a little bit more. Yeah, perfect, just like that. Let's see how this looks. So the portrait mode here actually looks pretty nice. What I'm gonna do, and I do this often when I'm shooting with people and there's super bright light on their face, I usually have them close their eyes, and then I'll count to 3, and that way when their eyes are open, they can actually see the sun, and it's not gonna be blinding them, and it doesn't look weird, and all that fun stuff. So we're gonna first start with that. So you're gonna close your eyes, and then 1, 2, actually hold on, let me get my exposure right. All right, 1, 2, 3, open. Perfect. And then you wanna look here at me as well. Yeah, that's great. Hold that. So another thing too with portrait mode I've noticed is when you're taking a photo of a subject and they're looking at you straight on, portrait mode sometimes has a hard time figuring out what part of the face to be in focus. So a really easy solution to that I've found is to have them tilt their head just a little bit so it's not exactly looking at the camera straight on. Then that gives a little bit of depth to their face, and it allows for the camera to actually know what to be focusing on. Yeah, hold that. Just look that way just a little bit. Yeah, right there for me. Perfect. Yeah, that's great. Hold that. Awesome. And then, yeah, let's do some variations. Yeah, hands in pockets, that's great. So I'm gonna adjust my f-stop as well, which, as I showed you guys before, super easy to do in portrait mode. We're gonna be shooting at 6.3 right here, and I'm also gonna be switching to the wide mode. I just wanna see kind of the differences and play around with stuff. Yeah, so hold that for me, that's great. So we're getting some really nice direct light here, and I really love how there's nice shadows in the background. It's pretty even light for how direct it is, and that's really kind of what we're going for here. Hold that for me. Yep, awesome, man. Okay, cool. And then let's have you hop over, let's go this way just a little bit. So obviously I'm working with Jacob, who's an extremely good model. I don't really have to direct and post him too much, but I would definitely encourage you guys, if you're struggling with shooting portraits of anybody, I would encourage you to direct, not pose. So what I mean by that is explain like what you want your subject to do, maybe even show them yourselves what you want them to be doing. And that's gonna actually come across as much easier for the subject to understand. It doesn't need to be a professional model, it can be literally anybody. If you can explain to them in a way that makes sense of what you want them to be doing, they're most likely gonna be able to do that. And the difference between posing and directing, in my opinion, posing is just, having them sitting there and not explaining, walking them through the process. Directing to me is, on the fly, we're working together, we're talking back and forth, we're trying to nail a pose or a look that looks great. And I think ultimately that comes through just talking things out and figuring out what actually looks the best. As I said before, this is very much a trial and error process, and it doesn't happen on the first shot. This is so sick. The light looks so sick right here. Yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
Want to see these?
Oh wow.
For a phone, it's pretty
For a
sick.
phone, that's awesome. Like that when the light's right.
Yeah, it looks nice, right?
It's really nice.
Yeah, it's sick. Let's get a couple more. I love like the variations in the light. Yeah, it looks super sweet. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna switch between portrait mode and non-portrait mode. For me, there's different use cases to use both of them. Portrait mode, I would say definitely when you're shooting a photo of a subject and you want it to be a little bit more professional looking, you wanna have some bokeh in the background, I would definitely encourage you to use that portrait mode, but definitely be aware of your aperture that you're using, and it's okay to switch things up after the fact. Even as I showed you guys, it's really easy to switch the aperture even after you shoot the image itself. When you're taking a photo and it's not in portrait mode, that's usually just probably for more of like a candid option. It's much quicker. Portrait mode usually takes a little bit of time to nail the focus down and the exposure and all that fun stuff. It just takes a little bit more time. And when you're shooting in the normal camera app itself, nice and quick and easy, you can literally just pull it out, swipe over, take a picture, and it looks good. So, let's get a couple more. Yeah, this light is just so sick. It's funny, I was talking about how I love the wide portrait mode, but like it looks too wide now for some reason.
Really?
Yeah, the tele's sick. All right, hold on, man. 1, 2, 3. Let's have a hand like right here, just like somewhere in the frame a little bit. Yeah, there we go. That's great. Perfect. Look this way for me. Yeah, a little bit more direct. Perfect. Hold that for me. Yeah, that looks nice. Do that one more time. Yeah, hold that. 1, 2, 3. Can you take a step back for me too?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, right there's perfect. Hold that. Kind of feel that light against your face too a little bit. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Yeah, it's sick. Looks great. So as I kind of said before, it's really important to explain to your subject kind of like how you would like them to feel, not only just to explain to them what you want them to be doing. For example, we got the sun hitting his face. I already kind of talked about this when we were shooting harsh light with Taylor. The same thing applies here. A facial expression to me really makes or breaks a portrait, and a really easy way to get someone to do the facial expression that you want is just to have them feel a certain way. And I think describing a feeling to somebody is really, really helpful for them because they now understand. Like a feeling is very easy to convey rather than, you know, just trying to explain someone to look a certain way. It doesn't really come across as something that's actually attainable. So describing a feeling is a perfect way to get someone to have the facial expression that you would like.